A worldwide pandemic has shut down the borders, and people won't stop listening to the lamestream media.
They're eating people. What do you expect us to do?
It's their culture!
You want zombies? That's how you get zombies. Brett William Mauser's Red Days gives us a disemboweled world where the end is nigh and the characters are high.
You want to give them the right to vote?
It's a right provided to them by the Queen!
Fuck her, she's a whore.
Still more trustworthy than CNN. Click on the link in the description and stream Red Days for free on Amazon today.
Winning? No. What up, you peaceful protesting flip-flops? Terrence Popp here, Redonkulas.com. Bad Popp showed up today because I'm pissing everyone off using logic, reason, numbers, and facts. I don't consider it a good episode until I piss off a couple of my fans. Winning! If you agree with me all of the time, I'm just not doing my job. With that being said, I have a new symptom that I need to tell you about. I got myself some double vision, and it's not from the booze. It's actually from the lamestream news. They're making polar opposite arguments at the same time and expect you to believe they're both correct. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Welcome to bizarre world where garbage is money and Epstein really did kill himself, Space Ghost. With that being said, I refuse to drink alone, so please pour yourself the menagerie. I'll wait. Yeah. It is no secret that here at Redonkulas, we are some conservative libertarian individuals. And why is that? Because the left is out of their goddamn minds. Space Ghost, I need some peace. Bottom line, if they're taking a moral stance on anything, chances are they don't give a shit about it or they're doing it themselves. The left says we're still dealing with the effects of slavery. Wah!
Until we're totally equal, we're still enslaved. Wah!
Yes, you're still enslaved by the Democratic Party that you keep voting for.
You walked back onto the plantation and called it freedom just because it comes with a welfare check.
They want to keep you poor and pissed off so you'll blame the wrong people and keep voting for them. And of course, because of this, the same old subject keeps coming up. Reparations for slavery. We've already debunked the absolute shit out of this, by the way. Links in the description. Besides, if slavery really was the issue, you would be doing cheetah flips over the slavery that's going on today. And the number one perpetrator of this slavery 40 million people enslaved right now across the planet. And you feminists out there better get ready because you've been ignoring this. 71% of them are women and 25% of them are children.
Knowing what you choose to focus on, one could make a very convincing argument that you genuinely don't give a shit.
Where are the feminist protests for women who are actually being oppressed? Women in Iran are being jailed in rape gulags for simply showing their faces. Why fight against that when you can fight against imaginary microaggressions? When mansplaining, manspreading, fart rape, stare rape, and air conditioning. Shut up. That is a whole pack of white people problems that don't amount to shit. Go post your titties on your OnlyFans account, you worthless thoughts. Or, if you want, jump back on Twitter and say how Trump is literally Hitler. Wah. I don't need any sources for this. We've been hearing this bullshit for 4 years. So let's get this straight. In 2020, you are a fascist if you want to strengthen your borders, respect states' rights, stop censorship on a network that was built and maintained with tax dollars, and deregulate free enterprise. That is so fascist. Wah. Has any one of you worthless pieces of shit out there picked up a history book in your goddamn lives? Or are you too busy burning them because that's what fascists do?
Pop, don't let it go. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you.
Nowadays, the anti-fascists are a bunch of spoon-fed middle-class bootlicking soy drinkers who hate free speech, think they deserve free shit from a government that has seized the means of production by force, and their idea of fighting racism is killing blacks and burning their cities. When you are this hopelessly stupid, you don't need free college. You need Jesus, because only God could help you.
It's not like you care about the actual persecution of any group, especially religious groups in a country that you keep making excuses for. Because after all, it's the Trump virus, right? Wah!
China is asshole.
The real problem is the Christian baker who refuses to make a wedding cake. You know, because of your gender that you feel like today, but tomorrow could be something totally different. Somehow that takes precedence over someone's relationship with God. And that is a relationship and a right which is sanctioned by the First Amendment. Just like it's your right to get pissed off and call that baker the following
Asshole.
right before you move on to the next bakery, because that's how capitalism works. Someone always wants your money.
Don't worry. I'm sure you'll find a baker just dying to make a wedding cake that looks like two manicured dicks playing swords.
I wouldn't eat that cake, but it's just me, Space Ghost. But look on the bright side. Every piece of cake is gonna come with a free tea bag. Screen 5. It's kind of hard to take you seriously when you ignore egregious human rights abuses, just because acknowledging them will nullify your worldview. And it's not even a worldview, it's more like a view from your mother's basement. I made a whole video about that, links in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're not even getting half the story. So please go to our alt tech platforms, links in the description, and if you're too lazy to do that, fuck off.
You know, up until the coronavirus, the millennial generation was the largest pandemic the world had ever seen. And the list of symptoms is longer than a walk to Mordor. If you have a useless college degree, live at home in your 30s, believe all women, always have an excuse for your failures, and think Bernie Sanders actually has good ideas, I got bad news for you. You've caught the stupid, and it's probably terminal. Weh? Luckily, there's a cure. Pick up How Not to Become a Millennial, a salvation guide for Generation Z, and vaccinate yourself against the soy. A link is in the description.
Ever since the untimely death of an unnamed violent felon, apparently the pandemic is over. But only for certain people.
As public health advocates, we do not condemn these gatherings as risky for COVID-19 transmission. This should not be confused with a permissive stance on all gatherings, particularly protests against stay-home orders.
You might as well have just written a press release that says, we're not really experts, we're just hired goons for the establishment. Don't do anything we say. In fact, we're astonished that you ever did.
Speaking of which, that brings us to George Floyd and all of the riots being carried out in his name. Did I say riots? I meant stunning and brave, peaceful protests.
Turn that bitch down, bro.
Because we need to protest police brutality, but only certain kinds of police brutality. Against certain ethnicity, singular, not plural. Because when Mohammed Noor shot a white woman in the gut, nobody seemed to care. Justine Damon called the police and reported a woman screaming behind her house. And for her effort, she was shot to death by an officer in his car sitting next to his partner. It took 8 months to bring charges against Noor for this crime. Obviously, this is exactly what you're protesting against, right? Right?
Free Mohammed Noor! Free free that man right now.
Wow, that's fucked up even for me.
My point is this. Don't you even pretend this is about police brutality.
How dare you?
The tough-on-crime Democrats of the 90s, like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they are directly responsible for packing our prisons with non-violent offenders. And one of the key architects on this tough-on-crime legislation, Joe Biden. I'm sorry, dude, but you think you could take a knee and magically it's better? Leaders lead. Cowards kneel. Just like whores. The media has been selling you on a huge lie.
Black people are killed disproportionately more by police.
No, they're not.
What the hell did you just say?
In fact, if you're a black perpetrator, you have a 25% less chance of being shot by the police. Gee, it's kind of like you're being manipulated by people who want you to believe you're oppressed.
And if you think for 1 second that these two-faced pieces of shit can't profit off your misery, you're dumber than a box of blonde hair covered in dinosaur shit. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Now I know I have some actual racists out there who are like, Pop, you're so full of shit. They're gonna tell you that I'm not giving you a genuine apples to apples comparison. You want apples to apples? Well, I'm gonna give you that. In fact, I got applesauce for you, bitches. Who was Tony Tempa? I bet you never heard of him. Allow me to introduce you. 32-year-old white male from Dallas, Texas, who called the police on himself. He was a schizophrenic who went off his meds and realized something was wrong.
2 years ago, 32-year-old Tony Tempa was afraid, and he called Dallas police for help. An hour later, he was dead.
He got cuffed and hogtied with a knee in his neck for 14 minutes. All the while, the officers joked at his pleas for help and mercy.
Please let me go, please.
Hey, Tony. I'm trying to help you out, man. Just relax.
Any of this sounding familiar to you, you Democrats out there?
I can breathe. Please, the knee in my dick.
Were there any protests for this man? Did anyone burn down a city over it? No. Aside from their skin color, there was only one key difference between these two men. Both men were fatal victims of police brutality. Both men were found to have drugs in their systems. Tempa was on coke and Floyd, meth.
Meth? That's some white people shit.
But only one of them was the convicted violent felon, George Floyd. Drug possession, armed robbery, and his real claim to fame besides the porn, sticking his gun in the belly of a pregnant woman while his buddies pistol whipped her and robbed the place. Guess who this country is rioting and looting for?
Make no mistake, we are not saying that George Floyd deserved to die. But a pistol-whipping porn star who robs pregnant women sure as shit does not deserve to become a martyr.
But why is his life worth more to the media than Tony Tempa or anyone else's? Why is it worth more than the lives of dozens of people who have been killed by the riots thus far? And how many are yet to die over this propaganda? If you really cared about this shit, you wouldn't be looting, you wouldn't be rioting, and you wouldn't be killing each other. Riots are not the language of the unheard. They are the language of the privileged. And I'll be a son of a bitch, no offense, mother, but Talcum X boiled this down perfectly.
Stop generically telling us to vote in response to all of the police brutality we have right now. Yes, we should vote, but we have to be very specific. Democrats from top to bottom are running the cities with the worst police brutality in America right now. We voted for them.
Sean King actually said something I agree with. I am having a black dead heart attack. And my heart is blacker than he'll ever be, Screen 5. Bottom line, if you're going to be outraged by police brutality, you need to be outraged for all of it. Not just this one. You got that? Instead, you have completely butt-fucked any chance for constructive change in a system that victimizes everyone regardless of skin color. But that story doesn't sell newspapers and it doesn't win over votes. Wah.